Why would you allow your blind father, they would hiss, a man who has put you under so much suffering, whose life is almost worth nothing, to be deciding your future? Why can't you just curse him so that he will die? This man does not want your happiness. He wants you to slave for him for the rest of your life. Once upon a time, in a certain kingdom called Idu, there lived a man named Nkem. If you mentioned Nkem's name anywhere in the land, people would smile before they even finished hearing it. He was known all through the kingdom for his kindness and his always joyful soul. Nkem was that kind of man whose laughter arrived before him. A jolly fellow, always cracking jokes, always finding a way to make heavy hearts feel light. Even on bad days, he still laughed, as if sorrow was not invited into his house. Nkem was married to the love of his life, Iroma, a gentle woman with a warm heart. Together, they had a very beautiful daughter named Chibutu. The day Chibutu was born, joy settled permanently in their home. But after her birth, Iroma could not conceive again. She tried everything: herbs, prayers, advice from women who talked too much, but none of them worked out. Finally, with a tired heart, she gave up. Still, she did not give up on joy. Together, she and Nkem raised their beloved daughter Chibutu. She was their only child, yes, but they raised her as though she was 10 children put together. They made sure she lacked nothing in training or love. She knew how to do everything her age mates could do and more. She was obedient, respectful, and kind. A very good girl. Everyone loved her. Wherever Chibutu went, smiles followed. And to her parents, she was not just a daughter. She was laughter, hope, and answered prayer wrapped in one small body. Nkem was not wealthy, no. Let nobody lie about that. He had only a few pieces of land, but whatever he got from them was enough to take care of himself and his family. And truly, that was all he needed. His household was so full of joy and laughter that even strangers noticed. Some houses had gold but no peace. Nkem's house had peace that money could not buy. Nkem loved singing. Oh, he loved it. And every night when the moon was full and bright like a watchful eye in the sky, he would sing and play his small talking drum, beating it gently as if it were a child. His wife and daughter would dance to the rhythm of his songs, laughing, spinning, clapping, sometimes missing steps, but enjoying themselves all the same. Villagers who passed by at night would slow their steps and whisper softly to one another, "Peace lives in Nkem's house." For many years, life continued to smile on Nkem. Joy still lived in his house until one day, tragedy remembered his address. That day, Iroma had gone to harvest palm fruits. Nothing unusual, just another day of honest labor. The sun began to sink and she started her journey back from the farm. Her basket heavy, her steps quick. Then suddenly, the sky changed its mood. A heavy wind tore through the fields, roaring like an angry spirit. Trees bent and shook violently. It was already getting dark, and Iroma hurried, urging her tired legs to move faster. Then it happened. The furious wind wrestled with a weak tree. Its roots gave way. With a loud, cruel crash, the tree fell straight onto Iroma. She dropped to the ground. There was no cry for help, no second chance. Death took her instantly. Back at home, Nkem stood in front of their hut, his face tight with worry. He had just returned from fishing with the village men, as it was the general fishing season, and that day had been one of his lucky days. His basket was heavy with big shiny fish. He had walked home. Ran, smiling, already rehearsing the jokes he would tell his wife and daughter as they enjoyed a hot fish pepper soup. Today, we shall eat like chiefs, he had thought. But when he got home, the hut was quiet. Iroma was not home. The wind howled fiercely, rattling leaves and roofs, and somehow Nkem grew restless. His chest felt tight. His joy began to leak away. The wind grew stronger. The sky grew darker. Still, Iroma did not return. From the doorpost where she sat, Chiboto lifted her small worried face and asked, "Papa, do you think something bad has happened to Mama?" "No, that is not possible, my daughter," Nkem replied quickly. His voice sounded firm, but his heart did not agree. Fear pushed him into action. He grabbed a lantern and began to walk down the path that led to the palm plantation. Each step felt heavier than the last. The wind slowly calmed, as though it had finished its wicked work. And then he saw it. A sight no man should ever see. His wife. His beloved wife. His Iroma. She lay on the ground, still and broken. Her head was bleeding, her eyes were closed in death. Nkem collapsed beside her and screamed, "Wake up! Wake up, please!" But Iroma did not move. Only the wind, now soft and tired, answered him. Nkem cried. He screamed until his lungs burned, calling for help, calling her name, calling the heavens. Too late. Iroma was buried the next day. And just like that, Nkem found himself alone with his daughter. Chiboto was about 13 years old when her mother died. Too young to understand death, probably, yet old enough to feel its full weight. The loss was so painful that both father and daughter wondered if they would ever survive it. Many nights they cried together. Some nights they cried alone. But somehow, they lived through it. They survived. Still, Nkem never remained the same again. It was as if Iroma had not gone alone. Like a part of him went with her. The laughter that used to jump out of his mouth now had to be forced. The songs under the moon became fewer. Nkem poured all the love he had left into two things only: his work and his daughter Chiboto, who was quickly blossoming into a very beautiful young maiden. Ah, Chiboto. She was an epitome of beauty, the exact replica of her mother. When villagers saw her pass, they nodded knowingly and whispered, "Enenebe Jolo," beauty that walks with dignity. Sometimes Nkem would look at her and freeze. The same eyes, the same smile, even the same gentle way of walking. His heart would squeeze painfully, but he would smile all the same. He swore silently that he would give her the best life had to offer. within his own small capacity. And truly, he tried his best. He never made her feel different from others, never made her feel poor, never made her feel unfortunate. And so Chibote grew into a very happy child, with a soft heart filled with love and kindness. She was such a good girl. Whatever her father gave her, no matter how small, she accepted it with contentment and gratitude. No complaints, no comparison. She attended the village school diligently, and on weekends, she followed her father to the farm, laughing as she worked, sometimes complaining playfully, but never refusing. Father and daughter leaned on each other like two trees growing from the same roots, and in their quiet way they lived happily. Until one day, another tragedy struck. One unfortunate day on the farm, Nkem mistakenly fell into thorns from a tree. Sharp, wicked thorns. They tore at his face and pierced his eyes. And that was how his eyes were injured. He screamed in pain. Some kind-hearted villagers who were passing by rushed to help him and carried him home. They did everything they knew how to do. Herbs, roots, bitter concoctions that burned the throat and stung the eyes. They spent all their savings trying to help Nkem see again. But nothing worked. The light faded from his eyes. Now they were broke. And at just 15 years old, Chibote found herself saddled with a heavy responsibility, the care of her blind father, who could now only see slightly. For weeks, Nkem mourned his new reality. He mourned it quietly, the way men do, without tears most days, but with heavy sighs that refused to leave his chest. Since his wife left this world, all he had lived for was his daughter. She was his reason, his anchor, his last laughter. He had wanted to be there for her fully, to give her a good life, to watch her achieve every milestone she ever dreamed of. He had imagined the day she would marry a man she truly loved. Imagined himself complaining loudly about bride price. Imagined carrying his grandchildren and boasting to anyone who cared to listen. But now he could barely see. The thought wounded him deeply. How could he guide a child when his own eyes had betrayed him? The grief sat on him like an extra body. Still, Chibote understood her father, even when he tried to hide his pain behind forced jokes. "Papa," she would always say, her voice calm but firm. "A wounded dog is better off than a dead lion. I believe that we can get through this together." Those words came from the mouth of a young girl, yet they carried the weight of a seasoned elder. Each time she said them, something inside Nkem settled. Somehow, they brought him comfort. One night, as they sat together enjoying the cool evening breeze, listening to insects argue in the dark, Nkem reached out and held his daughter's hand. His grip was gentle, but his voice was serious. "Promise me," he said, "that you will never keep anything a secret from me. Promise that you will tell me everything going on in your life and keep nothing. That way, even if my eyes fail me, I can still be part of your life and help guide you." Chibote nodded immediately. "I promise, Papa." That promise was enough for him. Nkem and his daughter shared a very close bond, and with time he learned to live again. So much had happened to him, yet none of it had taken away his life. His daughter would always remind him that the easiest way to live was to live happily. And so, Nkem chose happiness. He could not see clearly, but every morning, once he woke up, he would tilt his face towards the sky, pick up his little drum, and scream at the top of his lungs.
The great creator of heaven and earth. Your son is awake. Your son is awake. He did not die in his sleep. Many things came and took what was precious to me, but you still preserve my life and kept me and my precious daughter. Today I'm alive again.
This became his morning ritual. Every single morning, Nkem's voice rang through the village like a stubborn rooster that refused to be ignored. At first, people were startled. Later, they adjusted. Soon, the villagers got used to it. Whenever they heard Nkem's loud thanksgiving, always soaked in joy and gratitude, some shook their heads in pity. Some whispered quiet prayers of gratitude of their own. But above all, that voice reminded everyone of one simple truth. Nkem was still alive, and Chibotu never left his side. She took on any kind of job she could lay her hands on to take care of her father. She worked on people's farms, bent over tilling the soil. She fetched firewood, carried it on her head, sold it in the markets. Anything at all that would put food on their table, she did it. And true to her promise, she never hid anything from her father. Not her struggles, not her tiredness, not even the small coins she earned. Their bond was so strong that when they sat together, they never lacked things to talk about. They talked and laughed until tears ran down their cheeks. Sometimes they laughed so loudly that passerby would slow down and wonder if father and daughter had suddenly lost their senses. But Chibotu didn't care. All she wanted was for her father to be happy, and to her that was enough reason to laugh. Years passed, and Chibotu blossomed into a very beautiful maiden. Chibotu was so fine that she became the talk of the town. Her beauty did not knock on doors, it kicked them open. Heads turned, necks stretched. Gossip traveled faster than smoke. Men began trooping into their compound, one after the other, each hoping to win her heart for himself. Some came with sweet words, some came with confidence they did not deserve. Some came with nothing but audacity. But Chibotu had suffered too much to settle for just anything. She wanted a man who would genuinely make her happy, not one who saw her as decoration. Her father, though blind, was blessed with a very strong intuition. So many things are attracted to a beautifully ripe fruit, he would always say to her, including flies. These men flicking around you are like flies. When your real husband comes, I will know. And Chibotu would laugh. So every day, Nkem would carry his small stool and sit at the entrance of his hut, from where he could feel everything happening. Whenever a suitor arrived, Before the man could even clear his throat properly, Nkem would pick up his drum and burst into a song.
Leave my daughter for me. Leave my daughter for me. She's the only thing I have, the only thing this world left me. She's the one who bends for me. She's the one who sees for me. She's the one who takes care of me. The one who walks when I cannot. All I want is for her to be happy. That is the prayer of a broken man. Marry a man who loves her, not one who wears her beauty like clothes. Leave my daughter alone for me. Leave my daughter alone.
This song truly angered the men, deeply, painfully, especially the ones that had already imagined Chibotu as their wives, and the one that had boasted around the village that they were going to win Chibotu's heart. Each time Nkem sang them away, Chibotu would stand firmly beside her father, faced with her loyalty. The men would bow their heads in shame and leave, dragging their wounded pride behind them. But they did not always live quietly. Whenever they met her on the village path, bitterness would spill from their mouths. Why would you allow your blind father, they would hiss, a man who has put you under so much suffering, whose life is almost worth nothing, to be deciding your future? Why can't you just curse him so that he will die? This man does not want your happiness. He wants you to slave for him for the rest of your life. They said these things boldly, as if wickedness was advice. But Chibotu would always stand her ground. She would remind them calmly that she loved her father and that he meant well for her. No insult could shake her loyalty. Each time she returned home, she told her father everything, every word, every insult, every threat. And Nkem would sigh deeply and shake his head. Do not mind them, he would say gently. They only want to destroy you. When I see your husband, I will know. But years passed, and still, Chibotu did not find a husband. Nkem continued to drive her suitors away with songs and stubborn faith. One after the other, they came and went. Her mates were already married, carrying babies on their backs, while she was still returning alone to her father's hut. Worry began to creep quietly into her heart. Still, her father kept repeating those same words with unshaken confidence. When I see your husband, I will know. Then, one day, she met a young man. His name was Nonso. Nonso was a trader from another village in the Idu kingdom, and Nonso was handsome. Not just handsome, but really handsome. He was tall, well built, with a smile that could melt ice and scatter sense. The day he saw Chiboto returning from the market, he forgot where he was going. His legs moved, but his eyes stayed behind. From that day, she haunted his sleep. He asked around about her, and the warnings came quickly. Leave that girl alone, they told him. Her father has refused every man that comes close. It's better you try another maiden. But Nonso could not get his mind off that beauty that troubled him day and night. So he decided to take the bull by the horns. Every evening, he visited Chiboto with gifts, fruits, wrappers, sweet words. He even bought good things for Nkem, hoping to soften his heart. But Nkem never stopped singing that song. The moment Nonso approached, the old man would lift his head and raise his voice, breaking into his usual song, asking him to stay away from his Chiboto. Nonso tried. Truly he tried, but nothing worked. Frustrated, he began to wonder to himself, is this old man trying to marry his own daughter? So, Nonso decided to change tactics. He was out to get Chiboto by all means. If the old lion at home would not listen, then the princess herself would. Every day, he showed up wherever Chiboto was working, always appearing as if sent by destiny. He would bring her food, water. Sometimes he brought both and sweet words on top. These kind gestures slowly melted Chiboto's heart. Little by little, she began to warm up to him. Nonso was dangerously good with words. His tongue was smooth like palm oil. He flattered her endlessly, praised her beauty, her kindness, her strength. He made her laugh until her stomach hurt, and before she knew it, the wall around her heart crumbled. She was in love. But Nkem did not accept him. Each time Nonso came to the compound, Nkem still drove him away with stubborn songs and warnings. And this no longer made Chiboto happy. It weighed on her, though she refused to admit it. One evening, as Nonso and Chiboto were returning from the market together, he finally poured out his heart. I love you so much, Chiboto, Nonso said softly. But your father does not want us to be together. That man is old. He has lived his life. Why does he not want you to be happy? Why does he want to steal this thing we share? His face was filled with sorrow. Chiboto had heard such words before from other men, but this time they struck her differently. This was the man she loved. Hearing those words from him cracked something inside her. Doubt crept quietly into her heart. Doubts she had never allowed before. Could Nonso be right? Does it mean that my father does not want me to marry? Does he want me to take care of him all my life? And then another thought pierced her mind. How can a blind man help her choose his spouse? Had she not been in her right senses? That night, as she sat outside their huts with her father, she was unusually quiet. And what is my princess thinking? Nkem asked gently. Breaking into her thoughts. Remember, no secrets. Chiboto looked at her father, and tears filled her eyes. Papa, it's that young man who usually comes here. The one you keep on chasing away. His name is Nonso. I'm in love with him, Papa. He is the man I want to be with. And he loves me so much. Nkem was silent for a while. How do you know when a man loves you? He finally asked. I see it, Papa. I see through him, Chibozu replied quickly. You can't see because you are blind. Do you not want me to get married? I am not getting any younger. Please, Papa, give Nonso a chance. Nkem sighed deeply. All I want for you is to be happy. I haven't seen your husband yet. Don't think because my eyes are gone that I cannot see. But if you love him so much, then take it slow with him. You must be very careful. I won't chase him away anymore. He can come visit if he wants. Overjoyed, Chibozu hugged her father tightly. And just like that, her relationship with Nonso blossomed. He began to visit freely. At night, he sat with Chibozu, and they chatted and laughed loudly, filling the compound with youthful joy. Sometimes Chibozu visited him too. Chibozu had finally found love, or so she thought. Nkem observed silently. Everything was going on smoothly until one day, boom, Chibozu found out she was pregnant. At first, she was excited, truly excited. After all, Nonso had told her times without number that he could not wait to have a beautiful baby with her. He had whispered promises into her ears, sweet promises soaked in lies, and had sworn again and again that if she ever took in, he would marry her without delay. With the way Chibozu was raised, one would have expected her to be wiser. But love, love. Sometimes love does not just blind people, it swallows their brains completely. To make matters worse, she started keeping secrets from her father because Nonso had told her that she was now an adult and should stop reporting everything to her father like a small child. That afternoon, with her heart beating fast and hope dancing inside her chest, she broke the news of her pregnancy to Nonso. Immediately, his countenance changed. How? He snapped. I am not even ready to marry now. Chibozu was confused. But you said you would marry me if I take in, she reminded him softly. Nonso scoffed. I can't marry you, he said coldly. Even if I said so, are you a fool? Don't you have brains to think for yourself? Marrying you is a big baggage. With your blind father that keeps singing every morning like a frustrated bird. It's just too much. Will you wish someone like yourself on someone you love? The words hit her like slaps. Chibozu stood there, stunned. Was this the same Nonso who had sworn endless love? Surely, this had to be a bad dream. Maybe he was under some kind of pressure. Maybe fear was speaking. She decided to give him time. But Nonso never came back to his senses. 2 weeks passed, still. She did not tell her father what Nonso had done to her. Hope, foolish and stubborn, clung tightly to her heart. She kept believing he would return and make things right. One evening, as she was returning from the farm, she walked past the wine joint. Immediately she drew closer. Loud laughter erupted. Men burst into chants and mockery. Nonso is a winner, oh, Sisi don't carry belle, Mugu don't fall. Her heart skipped. She turned and there he was, Nonso, dancing freely in the wine joint as they mocked her. In that moment, her eyes cleared. Everything dawned on her at once. She had been played completely. Nonso had played her, stolen her virginity, and left her with the burden of carrying a child alone. Shame and heartbreak crushed her. She turned and ran. She ran all the way home, tears blinding her path. That night, she poured out everything to her father, every lie, every promise, every insult. Nkem cried bitterly. This was not the life he had wanted for his daughter. I warned you, he kept saying, his voice breaking. They cried together, father and daughter. And later, they found strength in each other. We will go through this together, Nkem said softly. I know I can't see clearly, but I will support you in the little way I can. Nkem became a sad man again. It was as though misfortune had marked his house with chalk and kept returning. Everything in his life felt cursed, like joy itself had missed the road to his compound. So every morning he no longer screamed his gratitude to the heavens. The loud thanksgiving that once woke the village disappeared. Instead, Nkem hid himself inside his hut, wrapped in silence. The villagers noticed. The old man has stopped singing, some whispered. Life has shouted back at him, others replied. Chibotu struggled through her pregnancy. Life did not give her time to sit down and cry. She took on all kinds of jobs just to survive. Even with her heavy belly growing, she remained strong, stronger than many expected. She carried loads, worked on farms. She pushed herself beyond comfort. The villagers mocked her. They called her all sorts of names because she got pregnant out of marriage. Men laughed when she passed. Some shook their heads and smirked. But Chibotu refused to let anything get to her. Yes, she was angry. Angry that she had tried falling in love for the first time and got heartbroken. Angry that she had not listened to her father. Angry at men. Deep inside, she decided she could never trust men again. So she buried herself in work. In a nearby kingdom, there lived a very wealthy farmer with a large stretch of farmland. His name was Ichie Uzodike. An old woman Chibotu once worked for told her about him. There is always work on his farm, the woman said. He is a very kind-hearted man and will pity your condition and allow you work. That was how Chibotu began working on Uzodike's farm. Just like the old woman had said, Uzodike was a kind man indeed. Every day, he watched Chibotu work. Even in her condition, she labored tirelessly, bending and rising, sweat soaking her wrapper. He was impressed, and every evening he paid her more than she earned. This continued for a while. The more he watched her, the more he developed a liking for her. He also noticed something else. She never mingled with the other workers. She kept to herself, focused, quiet. This stirred questions in his mind. Was she sad? Was she lonely? One evening, as he paid her for the day, he studied her face and asked gently, "Are you married?" "No, sir," Chibotu replied sadly. "Do you mind telling me about yourself?" he asked. "I have nothing to say, sir," she answered quickly. She didn't want anyone to judge her. She didn't want pity. Uzodike paid her and watched as she walked away. Her sadness touched him deeply, and somehow he felt relieved that she was not married. Chibotu struggled through the months of pain and exhaustion, and finally she had her child. It was a baby boy, very handsome, very peaceful. She named him Dikachi. For months after his birth, she could not return to Uzodike's farm. She stayed indoors caring for her baby and for her father, who, as far as the villagers were concerned, might as well have died. For over a year, no one had heard Nkem shout his loud morning thanksgiving. No voice, no songs, no noise, and truly nobody even cared enough to ask. Chibotu was alone, completely alone. No help, no shoulder to lean on. But hunger does not respect postpartum rest. She could not continue staying at home with her baby. If she did, hunger would finish them with no mercy. So, 3 months later, she returned to work, leaving her baby in the care of her father. Dikachi was such a peaceful child that he never stressed old Nkem or the young midwife who helped look after him. He hardly cried, just slept, fed, and stared at the world as if he understood suffering already. Uzadike, who had been asking tirelessly about Chibotu and searching for her whereabouts, was overjoyed to see her again. His happiness faded quickly into concern when he noticed she had put to bed. A woman who had just delivered a baby should be resting at home, not bending her back on a farm. Pity filled his heart. That evening, after work, he spoke to her. "Stay at home," he said gently. "I will pay you every single day until you are strong enough to work again." But Chibotu shook her head. "That would not be fair to me," she replied. "I only had a child. I was not diagnosed of any terrible ailment. Besides, I prefer working and being paid. That way, I don't feel indebted." Uzadike nodded slowly. "I see you were well raised," he said. "But don't hesitate to come to me. If it gets difficult and you ever change your mind, my offer will always be open to you." "Thank you," Chibotu replied with a smile. It warmed her heart to know that someone still cared, even though she was cautious. It happened that Uzadike had a son, the heir to his wealth. His name was Obiajulu. Obiajulu was just as kind-hearted as his father, and more than anything, Uzadike wanted his son to marry a good wife. From the very first day Uzadike saw Chibotu, he fell in love with the idea of her for his son. She was beautiful, really beautiful. But above that, she was respectful, humble, hardworking, disciplined. Women like her were not easy to find. He prayed earnestly that his son would love her. At that time, Obiajulu was abroad studying and learning modern methods to improve the farm as his father was preparing to retire soon. Months passed quickly, and one evening, Obiajulu returned home. It was a moment of great joy. The compound came alive again. Before Obiajulu could even settle properly, before he had finished stretching his legs or shaking off the dust of travel, his father had already started. He told him about the beautiful maiden who worked on their farmland. "Her name is Chibotu," Uzadike said with shining eyes. "And if you ask me, she would make a good wife for you." Obiajulu laughed it off. He knew his father had been praying and planning his marriage since forever. And besides, Obiajulu had his own taste, city taste. Certain kinds of women, the kind he believed his father could never choose correctly. So he laughed it off. Uzadike noticed and wisely did not push it. Until that morning, Obiajulu was strolling through the farm, hands behind his back, enjoying the quiet. Then his eyes caught her. She was weeding, bent slightly, focused, humming a soft tune, one of those old songs her father taught her long ago. Her voice was not loud, but it floated gently through the air, calm and steady. When she lifted her face, chai! Obiajulu froze. He had never seen a sight like that before. Her beauty hit him without warning. But more than her beauty, it was a calmness around her, the peace she carried like a fragrance. Without realizing it, he whistled softly. For a long moment, he did not even know he was staring. "You like what you see?" Uzadike's voice suddenly cut into his thoughts. Obiajulu jumped slightly. "I knew it," Uzadike continued with a satisfied smile. I knew you would like her. That is Chibotu, the maiden I told you about. Chibotu, Obiajulu repeated slowly. She is a very good girl, Uzadike added. A tough, single mother too. But not an easy catch. I wish you good luck anyway. With that, Uzadike smiled knowingly and walked past. And that was how it all began. Obiajulu first observed her quietly from a distance, with patience. He did not fail to notice how hardworking she was, how she bent over the soil without complaint, how she worked as if every weed was an enemy she had sworn to defeat. Slowly he began to get close to her, trying to know her better. But that was where the problem started. Chibotu had built a high wall around her heart, a wall made of pain, betrayal and shame, and she did not allow anyone to come close. But Obiajulu was determined to break through that wall. At the end of each day, he rewarded her generously and never failed to compliment her. He praised her strength, her diligence, her character. But Chibotu knew such men, or so she thought. Men who pretended to be kind, men with sweet tongues but beastly hearts. She had been fooled once. She refused to be fooled again, so she ignored him. The worst part was that he was even the heir to Uzodike's wealth. A rich man's son. She wondered what someone like him would want with a girl like her. Obiajulu was losing his mind. He was really trying, and each time she turned down his kind gestures, it hurt him deeply. He did not understand why, but he was already in love with her. And each day, that love deepened. Around the farm, nobody knew much about Chibotu, except one thing. She had a baby. So, Obiajulu decided that he needed to find out where she lived and who she truly was. One evening, Chibotu had just returned from work and was still settling in when she heard a knock. People hardly visited her anymore. The villagers had tagged her irresponsible, and she was surprised. She opened the door and froze. Obiajulu stood there. Unknown to her, he had followed her home. She quickly closed the door behind her and rushed outside. What are you doing here, sir? She asked, panic creeping into her voice. He smiled, that warm, calm smile that softened tension without trying. It's good to know you are human, he said lightly, and that you actually live on earth. I was beginning to wonder if you were a spirit. Despite her fear and worry, the words pulled a smile from her lips. It was the first time Obiajulu saw her smile. You should do that more often, he said softly. They stood there for a moment staring at each other until Chibotu finally offered him a seat. I am hungry, Obiajulu said casually. I don't mind if you have food to offer. Chibotu smiled nervously. I can't really afford the kind of food you eat, she replied. I don't mind, he said quickly. I will eat anything with joy, as long as it comes from you. She watched him eat happily. The ease with which he made himself comfortable touched her heart. He did not complain. He did not act important. He simply ate and smiled. Now that you see I don't bite, he said gently. Tell me about yourself. For the first time in a long while, Chibotu felt at ease. She opened up and told him everything about herself, Nonso, and her blind father. Obiajulu was sad. Now he understood why she shut people out. And that was how their friendship began. He assured her that he would always be there for her, and that she did not need to carry her burden alone. Chibotu allowed him to help, and slowly she became happy again. He would visit often, and Nkem never drove him away with a song, not even once. No warning chorus, no dramatic singing. He would only sit outside listening, smiling quietly as if his spirit already knew the truth. Obiajulu loved Dikachi deeply. Whenever he came around, he carried the boy, played with him, tossed him gently in the air, laughed with him. Dikachi took to him easily, like a child who could sense a safe heart. And when Chibuzo finally told her father that Obiajulu had asked her to marry him, Nkem only smiled. "I knew he was your husband," he said calmly. "I told you I would know when he comes." Marriage preparation began and Idu went into shock. People's mouths hung open. Was it not this Chibuzo, the same girl they mocked? The one who had gotten pregnant out of wedlock? The same one they called names? One of the wealthiest men in the region was marrying her. On the morning of the marriage ceremony, after a very long time, Nkem woke up in his old excited way and screamed his gratitude at the top of his lungs. The great creator. "He's alive," the villagers exclaimed. "Nkem is alive." They had almost forgotten his voice. The marriage ceremony was the biggest Idu kingdom had ever witnessed. Joy flooded the land, laughter echoed everywhere, drums did not rest. Celebration swallowed sorrow whole. Nkem and Uzodike were the happiest men alive. Their children had finally found love. After the marriage, Nkem was taken to the city for an eye surgery, and he regained his sight. After many years, he could see again. His joy knew no bounds. Obiajulu built him a fine brick house, and once again, Nkem became the happy man who woke up every morning with gratitude on his lips. Meanwhile, Chibuzo lived happily with her husband and her son. Many years passed. One afternoon, Nkem was weaving a mat outside his house when a figure drew close. It was Nonso. You all remember Nonso, the man who had impregnated his daughter and left her to suffer alone. Besties, you won't believe it. He even came carrying palm wine. In 5 years, Nkem had married 3 wives and none could bear him a child. Now he wanted Dikachi. Nkem stared at him in disbelief. "Eh? So, now you mean you know you have a child?" "Yes, sir," Nonso said quickly. "I am very sorry. I was just so young and foolish." "Oh," Nkem said slowly. "I'm happy you've realized." He glanced at the calabash. "And you even brought palm wine?" "Yes, sir. Very sweet wine. The best of the best." Yeah. "That is very thoughtful of you," Nkem replied. He stood up. "I am coming. Let me go and get him. You deserve to see your son." Nonso stood outside, smiling like a burnt goat. He did not think it would be this easy. But everything changed when Nkem emerged with a Dane gun and cocked it. The palm wine fell from Nonso's hand as he took to his heels, screaming. "Annual fear," Nkem shouted. "You want your son? Come and take him now, big fool." Hey besties, we've come to the end of this story and I hope you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed making it. I would love you to share your thoughts in the comments section. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you enjoy our stories but are yet to subscribe to this channel. Thank you so much for all your love and support. They mean so much to me. Right now, I have to go and see you in our next story.